You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Big Kev, shout out to Big Kev for becoming a guest on the show, man. We're going to talk about Zach LaVine's legacy as a Bull. Is it done yet? Do we think it's going to come to an end at the end of the season? We're going to talk about all that plus more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts, and I'm glad to bring you guys a guest, somebody I consider a brother, Big Kev, host of Chicago White Sox and Chicago Cubs Central. What's going on, Kev?
What's the word, man? It's a pleasure to be here, my guy.
Yeah, man, glad to have you here, brother. Glad to have you, man. You know what? We talk a lot of Chicago sports, but because I don't do a lot of guests always on Chicago Bulls Central, we don't talk Bulls probably as much as people would think. It's definitely more Bears, more general NBA than anything as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start this one off, man, and throw this one to you. What do you think as of right now is Zach LaVine's legacy as a Bull? And then I guess as the second part of that, we can have a conversation about, do we think that is it truly winding down? Do we think that it could end up that maybe the Bulls end up keeping Zach LaVine long term? But as of right now, how do you look at Zach LaVine and his time as a Bull?
Man, it's a mixed bag, Haize. It's a lot of what ifs. Just looking at it on the surface, he's never played a full 82. I know it's a bubble year in there as well, so like they didn't get all 82 there, but he's never really been healthy for an entire season. His best season, he did give us 50% from the field, 40% from three, 25 plus points, and it looked like, okay, he was on the upswing. They gave him that max contract, and since then it's just been all downhill. To be 100. The feeling around the organization about him, at least as far as I'm concerned, his shot selection was poor. His defense never really picked up to a level where he could just be a little bit more respectable than because he did have like one steal a game for a season or two. But at the end of the day, man, he's just a part of this regime that they brought in that just didn't really fully pan out for the Chicago Bulls, if we're being 100% honest. I love the kid. He's a pure scorer. He's shown that he can put the ball in the basket, but does it affect winning? And frankly, no.
And that's fair. I think that anybody who wants to argue that would be kind of missing the point. I look at Zach LaVine, personally, the way that I look at it is a bunch of what ifs over Zach LaVine's career. Like initially him coming here, Lauri Markkanen was the rookie we drafted when we traded for Zach LaVine. And so Zach didn't play a lot that season, but Lauri Markkanen, he took off. Like we all were happy with Lauri. Zach LaVine came back towards the end of that season, played like 24, 25-ish games. And then it was like that what if of, okay, are we going to have this forward and guard combo that we can build around going forward? And then as Lauri started, even in that second year, looked a little bit better, but then Jim Boylen took over. And then that kind of killed the confidence of a lot of players. Zach LaVine never really bought into Jim Boylen. That went downhill. And then the next what if was, all right, so we spent a couple of years with Jim Boylen. We eventually move on from him. New front office comes in. You bring in Lonzo, you bring in DeMar, you bring in Alex Caruso. And then it's that next what if. What if Lonzo would have never went down with injury in that team? What if that team would have been able to focus on just adding to that team rather than trying to spend 2 years trying to replace Lonzo Ball before Kobe White took over that role? Like, it's a bunch of what ifs, and that's how I look at Zach. Like, Zach's an imperfect player. He's not, to me, the player that he's not going to ever be a number one on the championship team, and that's fine. But you look at like this front office, how many picks they missed on. When Gar Pax was still here, just how they couldn't put a team together. They just drafted a bunch of talent, hoped that it was going to stick to the wall. They didn't. So I think the way that I look at Zach LaVine's time here is just it's a huge what if. All the different versions of the teams that Zach was on, they all have their own what ifs with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and he couldn't really coexist with the backcourt. Him, DeRozan, and Kobe, they all played their brand of basketball. And Zach, again, like I just feel like if Zach worked on the little things to elevate his game and elevate the players around him, he would be more endeared to this fan base. But instead, like he never really learned how to go left purely. Instead of taking the easy shot, he would take the step back three when you got the lane. his athleticism is undeniable, but what do you got, like 5 or 6 dunks as a Chicago Bull? I know I'm exaggerating, but like he's not catching bodies. He's not doing an Anthony Edwards type approach to basketball, for example. And it's like all those things is what caused this fan base to look at Zach LaVine like, I don't know. And I think that's what the front office really started to do. Like, okay, well, we're going to shop him. But his attitude, it just deteriorated as time went on. And it made him pretty much untradeable on top of that. So, and then there's stats out there that show him as the worst winning player in the history of the NBA. Like his winning percentage in terms of being a guy that takes as many shots as he has and has played as many games as he has, his winning percentage is bad. It's really bad. And then there's the playoff situation where the Bulls just haven't had any playoff success with him being one of the focal points of the team. All of those things add up to just a bad taste in your mouth for Zach LaVine and his fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some initial excitement, and like you said, it just everything kind of just wore down over time. And Zach LaVine is, like I said, like does he have a terrible winning percentage? Yes, as a Bull. Now that's not all on Zach LaVine, right? Like I feel like fans can't say that Zach LaVine isn't a number one and then solely blame him for the winning percentage. There, I think you can't do both because you need a team around you to win. There's only 5% of NBA players in history are players that by just them being on your team can probably push you to contending for a playoff. Zach LaVine clearly was not that, and that's fine. But then you do look at some of the things that he didn't ever really work on in this game. Like there have been times, and I've pointed them out, there have been stretches where it's like Zach LaVine locks in defensively, and it almost is bittersweet because it's like, so you're telling me if you just gave that effort consistently, you'd be a good defender.
Right.
At least a solid defender, right? Because we see that. And so it like I still like Zach LaVine a lot. I like Zach LaVine. I do hope that him, Kobe, and Josh Giddey can work it out as far as like that 1-2-3 combination there. And I said it over on an episode of Central before. I do see a path in which LaVine may be here for the long term. And by long term, I mean past this season. Do you think that that's a possibility? Do you think the Bulls by the trade deadline are just going to say, we got to get this guy out of here?
Well, so it's twofold. Zach is still only 29, so he's in his prime right now. We know he's capable of putting up 25 points a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. We know he's capable of shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, 80 plus from the free throw line. One thing real quick, I think Zach LaVine would definitely benefit for playing for a coach like Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, that's a fact.
Like he would definitely benefit because he would get the most out of him. He'll max him out. Or even a Rick Carlisle would get the most out of a Zach LaVine. Part of Zach's issues is coaching. Like he hasn't really had a coach that can push him over the top, and it's just not working with Billy Donovan. You can tell that he's not bought into the Billy Donovan situation either. But as far as his tenure with the Bulls is concerned, I've heard the rumors of them saying that they would like to repair their relationship with him. And honestly, with this team currently constructed, the Bulls have enough talent to make a low-seeded playoff run with Vucevic and Zach LaVine still on this team. It's really on Zach. If Zach come out and play and show that he's a professional and that he wants to buy into this team, then yeah, he could be here for a little bit longer. What do you got, 4 years left on his contract?
3.
So like, you said 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3.
3 years left on his contract. So yeah, he could definitely be here for another year or two, and then he's more tradable when he goes into his last year of his contract. But he has to show that he wants to be here, and that's what really turned me sour on Zach LaVine. Not all of the things that we discussed earlier, but just his attitude about being on this team. Like, dude, if you don't want to be here, then that's what it is. Once he requested a trade, that's when I requested a trade. Like, okay, then go, then be up, be out.
Yeah, if you don't want to be here, then you don't want to be here. And I try to also understand it from Zach LaVine's standpoint. Like, you have a coach that doesn't always use players the right way. You have a front office that hasn't shown a ability to just be aggressive to keep this team at a certain winning level. And I'm sure maybe even some of that extends to ownership. We all know the frustration that Bulls fans share with ownership. So I'm not going to act like I don't understand if Zach LaVine has it as a player. But to me, I agree with you. That stretch last season where he came back from injury, but before he went down permanently with the next injury, it was like Zach LaVine was so disengaged that that did sour me a little bit on Zach. Like I said, I can understand the frustration, but don't give up on your guys. Like that your teammates aren't the reason. Like, they don't control the roster. So that's what it felt like a little bit to me. I won't say like he was just completely like over him, but it's going to be interesting now coming back to this team after all the offseason of rumors, the team clearly moving in a younger direction with this roster and maybe prioritizing those young guys. Does Zach LaVine come back and still want to be Zach, or does he come back and try to fit in with these guys, which could end up helping the team have more success?
He can show leadership. And that's
Mm.
not really something that he's shown too much in his time with the Chicago Bulls, because really DeRozan was the leader once he came. Because I think that's part of the problem is that when Zach came over, he expected to be the guy. And when they got DeRozan, the balance of power shifted. And he couldn't be the guy because DeRozan from Compton, he an alpha. He big cuz out there. It is what it is. So I couldn't. I think Zach LaVine couldn't really rectify that within himself. Like, he couldn't understand within himself how to be the second banana on a team that had a couple of alphas, because Vooch wanted his 20 and 10 numbers. So now Zach has an opportunity with this team not really having a player like DeRozan anymore. Kobe White is not a true number one. Zach LaVine is not a true number one. Buzelis has to, get into his rhythm and grow and get bigger and stronger. It's going to take a few years for him. Josh Giddey is still very young as well. So Zach can be the big homie on this squad. He can go out there and truly be the leader that he wanted to be 2 or 3 years ago. And if he does that, that's good for the Chicago Bulls. It's something that could turn the Bulls into a sleeper in the Eastern Conference.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. But one thing we are not sleep on is the Bull City Edition Jersey Leaks, and we're going to get into that next. I've been working on my segues, bro. I've been working on the segues, man. We're going to get into that, but first we got to get into a message from our sponsor, and that's FanDuel. All right, y'all. Basketball season is right around the corner. We are not too far off from preseason starting. But with that said, football's already started back. The WNBA is still going on. The playoffs are right around the corner. Those WNBA playoffs are going to be lit this season, and as well as baseball still going on, and everything's still like we are right now in kind of the heyday of sports right now, with everything either starting or getting ready to end. And with that said, FanDuel is trying to help you guys out. I know you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, but we got a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers who bet at least $5 get 3 weeks free of NFL Sunday Ticket. That's a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. You can watch all of your out-of-market Sunday games and even Monday games on NFL Sunday Ticket. With YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season game that's out of market, that's not already on your local markets. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Kev. You hear the music now. See, we got the music. See what we do here. With that said, Kev, man, we had every year, the Bulls posted, I think, a couple of days ago that the City Edition jerseys would be officially released November 14th. We're about a little under a month away from that, and they all the NBA City Edition jerseys were reportedly leaked. Now, this hasn't been made official, so this is a leak. I'm going to put it briefly up here on the screen. It's covering up Kev. Didn't do that intentionally, but that's just so people can see it. But that's so people can get a look at that. Kev, how do you feel about those City Edition jerseys?
Man, me and Steve-O and Bobby were talking about this over on NBA Central. Steve-O said it looked like a 50th anniversary celebration with the colors, the gold and white colors. It's kind of champagne-y to me, like it's an interesting approach, but it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't scream Chicago Bulls. Like, what are they trying to represent with this? Like, what part of the city is this? Like, when they had the flag, it made sense,
Yeah.
If they had something with this the skyline on it, it would make sense. Or something with the bean on it, it would make sense. But like, this is just like, I saw some of the other jerseys where Toronto paid homage to Vince Carter with the between the legs Raptor, or with the land for Cleveland, and the Orlando Magic throwback situation that they did. It just doesn't make sense.
I really like I love the Orlando Magic's one.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of nostalgia, so to speak. And that's the thing with the Bulls, though. Their jersey has been pretty much the same throughout their history. they haven't really made too many changes where they can go back to something and say, see, remember these, you remember that. So I mean, maybe the black and white pinstripe joint and the black and red pinstripe joint,
which we still have this season. I still like that. I need personally. I don't know about you. I want to see a white jersey with red pinstripes. That's what I want to see, but we're probably never gonna get it.
I mean, but that's it. Like, it's like, man, for me, I mean, it kind of, I mean, as far as fashion is concerned, you can go a lot of ways with it, with pairing it up with certain J's and certain, pants and whatever, or shorts if you're gonna go that way. But as far as if it represents the city, I'm still up in the air on that one.
Well, so the reason why I'm glad that you said Steve-O pointed out that it looks like they're celebrating something. It is the 30th anniversary of the United Center.
There you go.
So that may be why they're like you said, it looks champagne-y, that type of thing. That may be why they went with that color. And keep in mind too, last year was the first year that with the City Edition jerseys, when you're in the in-season tournament, you also have a custom floor to match those jerseys. So maybe the Bulls are going to go a lot of gold on the floor this year, which I wish we had some gold coming in. We don't, but it is what it is there. So I'll take it on the jersey. But yeah, overall, like I look at it and I say, I don't hate it. I don't hate, like, to me, every year with the City Edition jerseys, I have to see the full uniform, because last year I hated the jersey, but then when the shorts got released too, and you saw it as a whole uniform, I was like, that's actually not half bad. And then when you heard the story how it was paying homage to the old Chicago Stadium, and they had like a specific shade of red because that was a specific shade of red for Old Bridge in Chicago and stuff like, so hearing the story may help that as well. But I look at it and I don't hate. And to your point, the Bulls jerseys basically stayed the exact same for the majority of our existence. The City Editions are really the only thing we get that's a little bit different. So it's cool in that aspect.
Yeah, I ain't mad at it. I'm just not like overexcited about it either. We got to see more.
Yeah. I do think though that to me, the Bulls on the chest should have stood out a little. It's a little too muted for me. Like I wish they would have stood out a little bit more.
Put it back up. Let me see real quick. Yeah, I mean, the design could have popped a little bit more, but again, we see some of the side a little bit too.
Yeah, with the
So
stars.
we're not getting a full picture, but like I said, from a fashion standpoint, it can go a lot of ways with how you accessorize that joint.
And one thing that I like too, that a lot of the other teams are doing, they're getting creative with their logos. The Bulls basically keep the same font. Like, get rid of the the Raptors have a big raptor on there. Why can't we have a big bull on the chest? Like that would be something different, right? Like mixed up a little bit, do something like that, man. I don't know who's designing these jerseys. I'm sure we'll hear who did them. But
Haize for design, Pat the designer, put him on.
I don't know who they need to get to design some stuff, man. But I mean, what's your favorite City Edition jersey? Which one was your favorite?
The one with the flag on it. The one that had when they had the stars on it.
So we had two different ones. We had a white one that was mainly white and powder blue like that, and then we had one that was basically all powder blue.
I think it was the white and powder blue one.
Okay, yeah, that's still my favorite one too. That's still my favorite City Edition jersey. That was the only one too that I didn't buy, because that was I think the Bulls' first City Edition jersey, and that's when I thought like, oh, they're not going to change them every single year, so I didn't buy it that year. And then they changed it the next year, and they stopped selling it. And those mugs on eBay go for like $500. I'm like, come on, I'm not paying for a non-throwback City Edition jersey that much, bro.
It's a throwback at this point.
I guess it is, but yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, I'm not mad at it. Oh, wait, are you talking about the black one? There was a black and powder blue one too. I forgot.
There we go. That's the one.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah. I rock with that one.
Yeah, okay. See, I forgot we had this. So we did have one with the big bull on it. The mainly powder blue and white one actually just had a big bull on it. Then we had the black one with the flag on it. And then we had the white and powder blue one with the curse of Chicago on it.
I just feel like City Edition should represent the city in some way. In some way, shape, or form. Put an Italian beef sandwich on that joint or something. Let's get
an Italian beef sandwich, bro. That would be hilarious. That may be how you get Zion to sign with the Chicago Bulls. You throw an Italian beef on the jersey, Zion may go ahead and sign with the Chicago Bulls. I see what you're doing there, Kev. Are you gonna buy it? You think if this is the official, do you think you're gonna cop it?
So like as far as jerseys are concerned, I'm more of the mindset that they got to show me something for me to make, because the jerseys usually cost $200, $250. So, like, if I'm gonna put that type of bread up, the team itself got to show me something. I'm okay with buying T-shirts and hats because you can buy those for a little bit cheaper. But jerseys overall, especially with the Bears, even right, like I'm not getting a Caleb Williams jersey until they show me something. So like I feel the same way with the Bulls. Like I almost got a DeRozan jersey that first year when he's hitting those game
Yeah,
winners.
yeah.
But then like the next year he turned into like a turnover machine, a ball hog, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna fall back on that. So we'll see how the Bulls do. Because I'm interested to see how the rookie does, man. Like I might get the Buzelis jersey if he come out there and take care of business.
I feel that. I can see myself getting a Buzelis jersey. I got a Kobe White jersey last season. I finally went ahead and caught one because I was like, listen, even if he does end up leaving, he's balling, bro. I got to get this Kobe White jersey. So,
yeah, I feel
yeah, we'll see what happens on that one, man. But next up, we're going to be ending the show asking, how can Acme regain the trust of the fans? But before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about a message from another one of our sponsors, and that's Gametime. We've been telling you guys about Gametime for a long time here over on Locked On, and Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Also, as you guys know, Gametime also has the panoramic view, so when before you choose your tickets, you can see exactly the view that you're going to get of the event or game or whatever you're going to. Gametime Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And Gametime has the best ticket purchasing coverage in the ticketing industry. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and seat for less on any other place. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code that's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's Gametime. All right, Kev, before we go, man, we started off the show talking about Zach LaVine, and over the course of that, we also talked about how Zach LaVine kind of lost some trust with that front office. Fans have also lost trust with the front office. Throw this one to you, Kev. What do you think that AK and Eversley can do to start regaining the trust of Chicago Bulls fans? And can they do enough to where they regain that this season, or is it just they can start on that process this season?
I mean, they've already started the process, like bringing Josh Giddey in. They finally started to go with the youth movement. And I think a lot of people were tired of them standing pat on the dream of the Lonzo Ball, Vucevic, DeRozan, core, and just sitting there like, oh, well, on paper, we still believe in this. And it's like, well, Lonzo's not coming back. DeRozan is a black hole. He was a great player for the Chicago Bulls. I'm not trying to sully his tenure here with the Bulls, but the reality is he needed the ball in his hands, and a lot of times it stopped the flow of offense. They couldn't play with pace. They were one of the slowest teams in the NBA, and he didn't play defense either. So now that they've decided to go with a youth movement and try to get better at positions that matter the most, especially point guard, they started the process. Now, how can they completely regain the confidence? Keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't just sell us a bill of goods, my guy. Don't just tell us, hey, we want to. What did he say last year? We want continuity and consistency. Well, they were consistently bad throughout these last couple of seasons, and they were just pretty much underwhelming. Like we had play-in tournaments over and over again. And it's just, and then even in the games, like that Miami Heat team that went to the finals was like 3 minutes away from losing to the Bulls in that play-in tournament. That's true. Watch that team make changes and so on and so forth, even after that. Let's see if they can adjust through the season. Don't hold on to people too long. Vucevic is a tradable piece. Zach, if he comes in with the wrong attitude and approach, he's tradable as well. Get it done. And also get some first-round picks. Because what happened this offseason with Caruso and DeRozan, and you couldn't get a first-round pick for either one of those guys. That, for me, that was reprehensible.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'm not down on Josh Giddey as a player, I do look at the Bulls and say, damn, you can even get a couple of seconds. Like, if you were so sold on Josh Giddey that you didn't need any first, cool, you couldn't get a couple of seconds? Like, and that goes back to my personal, I can't speak for everyone, my personal lack of faith in AK and Eversley isn't just because of what the Bulls were. Because like I kind of understand that the first season after Lonzo, of course, you hope they had some hope that Lonzo was going to come back that first season after he went down. They hope that Io can keep him afloat until then. It ended up not happening. They got Pep Bev at the trade deadline. The season after that, Kobe White took over as a starting point guard. So I can kind of understand some things there. I can kind of give some leeway there. But like when you finally did decide to move off of these pieces, you did so just 3 months late. Had you just decided at the trade deadline, hey, we're going to go younger this offseason, you could have got more back for Alex Caruso. You could have got more back for DeMar DeRozan. You could have got Philadelphia offered you 2 second-round picks for Andre Drummond. You lost them for nothing in the offseason. Like, it's those type of moves that gives you more assets. Even if, like, 2 second-round picks for Andre Drummond, maybe you find a player like Io out of that, maybe you don't. But at the bare minimum, that's something you could package with another asset to move up or to get somebody else, right? So it's that type of thing. They keep moving. They're always a little bit behind every decision that they make, and that's left us to where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, like when DeRozan made the All-Star team the second time, he was supposed to be traded at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we love him here in Chicago, they wanted to push for the play-in, and that's just not smart. It's not long-term thinking. Caruso, they offered first-round picks for him before the draft, and they didn't move on it. So it's like things like that. It's pedestrian. You're getting paid too much money. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars to do things that we would do for free. And it's like, and we would do better for free. So like, I just don't understand the approach of AK. It just doesn't make sense to me. These guys, when they came from the different places that they came with high resumes. Like it was like, okay, I respect these guys, and we had to get off the Garpax situation. But at the end of the day, they haven't done much to impress me. You got Vucevic, and he was supposed to push you over the top to make you at least a 5 or 6 seed pretty much every season. And Orlando has taken over that spot since then because they got all your draft picks in the process. So like some of these teams are licking their chops when they hear the Bulls calling. They're like, "Oh, we about to get him. We about to get him." And they getting them. I'm like, OKC, for example, got 100 picks and you couldn't get none of them from them. It doesn't make sense. They probably would have been willing to give you anything that you asked for because they have a plethora of picks. So I'm right there with you, Haize. It doesn't make sense. Some of the moves that they made from a front office standpoint, from trades and stuff. But as far as the roster is concerned, they've done what they could with what they had.
Yeah, I mean, they've done what they can. We're a franchise that doesn't go into the luxury tax. We're not going to go into the luxury tax anytime soon. So, they haven't had a lot of flexibility financially, and I got to give them credit. You brought in Andre Drummond, who while he was here was basically everything we needed him to be as a backup center, right? You did that. You got Alex Caruso on a deal that it's still he's going to get paid a lot more when he's up, and that's part of the reason why you moved on. Let OKC pay him there. So like. They've done some things to add some flexibility. I think the deals that they signed Kobe and Io to are they're already showing that those are steals. They show that in the first year. So, they've done some decent things. I think getting Manas Bucilis was a really good one there. And I know people are like, well, he fell to them. Listen, you still got to be smart enough to take him because they could have very well did something different. So
they could have. There were other options there, and they went with. I mean, we were excited on draft, and I couldn't believe he fell all the way down to the Bulls. That was great. And he's a Chicago kid, and what he has in him is dog. He's a dog. He loves the sport, the game of basketball. He lives in the gym, and he's gonna fit in this culture with Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan is going to benefit from having younger players because that's what I've seen from Billy Donovan. Of course, at University of Florida, and even at OKC, minus the Chris Paul, is that how he worked with younger players, and maybe that's what he needs to become a better coach in this league.
I agree, and I think they also seem like they set up. They brought in 2 coaches that can help him with his development, and I think that's a smart thing that they did there. So overall, I would say this to answer the original questions: what can Acme start doing to rebuild some of the Bulls' trust? I'll say this: Manas Bucilis being a hit will definitely go a long way in helping. So
and Giddey.
Yeah, and Giddey. Yeah, if both those guys are a hit in their respective different ways, like Manas Bucilis, I'm not expecting to average like 15 points as a rookie, but if we walk out of this season and we're like, hey, no, we got us one in Manas Bucilis, and he's gonna be really ready in his sophomore year, I think that goes a long way. And if Josh Giddey comes in and can be more like 2022, 23, 17, 8, and 6, that goes a long way too.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
But
Did we
that's
get
our
some shooters?
time.
Did we get some shooters? Did they get some shooters on this team?
No,
That'll help too.
that'll definitely help. Like, go out and get some shooters. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. 3-point shooting is going to be really interesting to see how the Bulls, because really in that starting lineup, you are hoping that Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Zach LaVine
That's it.
are all close to 40% from three.
Because we don't need Vooch out there shooting threes.
No. Please, God, no. And Io off the bench as well. He was 40% last year. If those guys can all be really solid 3-point shooters this year, that's our best hope, man. That's all I can say. But that's our time, Kev, man. Go ahead and tell the people where they can find you at, brother.
Oh, yeah. Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central for now. That's going to be changed. Speaking of game time earlier, though, they need to be giving away White Sox tickets for free. It's crazy. It is crazy. The season's coming to an end. The Cubs are pretty much fizzling out, but still come rock with your boy. And then you see my Twitter handle down below at Kevin Albert 0207, man. I appreciate y'all. Locked On is legit, man. I love it over here.
It's what we do, man.
I be hearing commercials on ESPN and stuff.
I know, like right? That. It's crazy. It's crazy now, man. You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. You can check us out at Locked On Bulls, man, as well. We want to thank you guys for tuning in and making Locked On Bulls your first listen every single day. Now for your second listen, go and check out Locked On NBA, where the experts over there are breaking down NBA 7 days a week, even in the offseason. So make sure you guys go out and support them. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And I got 2 special guests tomorrow that I'm really excited to bring to the show. Kev knows who they are. We'll see you guys tomorrow, y'all. Peace.